Our reading this morning is from a book I've read from several times before by neurologist David Eagleman called Incognito: The Secret Lives of the Brain. Just like a good drama, the human brain runs on conflict. In an assembly line or government ministry, each worker is an expert in a small, deep task. In contrast, parties in a democracy hold different opinions about the same issues. And the important part of the process is the battle for steering the ship of state. Brains are like representative democracies. They are built of multiple, overlapping experts who weigh in and compete over different choices. As Walt Whitman correctly surmised, we are large and we harbor multitudes within us. And those multitudes are locked in chronic battle. There's an ongoing conversation among the different factions in your brain, each competing to control the single output channel of your behavior. As a result, you can accomplish the strange feats of arguing with yourself, cursing at yourself, and cajoling yourself to do something. Feats that modern computers simply cannot do. When the hostess at a party offers chocolate cake, you find yourself on the horns of a dilemma. Some parts of your brain have evolved to crave the rich energy source of sugar, and other parts care about the negative consequences, such as the health of your heart or the bulge of your love handles. Part of you wants the cake, and part of you tries to muster the fortitude to forego it. The final vote of the Parliament determines which party controls your action. That is, whether you put your hand out or up. In the end, you either eat the chocolate cake or you do not, but you can't do both. Seeing things not as they are, but as we are. In the current political campaign, we are experiencing what you might call truth decay. In any political campaign, truth is an issue. But it has become more central in this contest and has taken some bizarre turns. Back in the thick of the primaries, liberals were appalled by one candidate who seemed to be appealing nakedly to racism, homophobia, sexism, and xenophobia, and worse, succeeding wildly in doing it. What was most puzzling was that those supporting him said that this candidate alone seemed to be putting aside political correctness and telling it like it was. They were supporting him because they thought he was telling the truth. Of course, the liberals, saying all Muslims are potential terrorists and all Mexicans are rapists, is not telling it like it is. It is using gross racial and religious and national origin stereotypes to inflame passions we would like to see disappear from American life. We're here worried about racism and police citizen encounters, which seem to be taking the lives of innocent black citizens. And there's a whole section of the body politic who seem to live in a world where all people of color are suspicious if not dangerous, and will only be safe when everyone is armed to the teeth. Truth is very much at issue. Websites called fact checkers submit the claims of each candidate to a rigorous research to determine if they are true. And it is discouraging when a candidate can get low marks on truthfulness and still maintain support. In this connection, a few weeks ago, I came across this saying which stopped me in my tracks. We do not see things as they are, but as we are. If I were to put this morning's message into one sentence, it would be that everything any one of us thinks is true is filtered through the processes of perception and understanding in our individual brains. which processes are informed by our histories and by our assumptions about the way the world is. Let me start with a humble exercise. This involves a sense of sight, and I realize we have people with various degrees of sight impairment among us. They might want to think about what we're about to do might apply to other senses. Because I think the principle I will get to applies. If you choose this, close one of your eyes and raise the hand on the side of the open eye so that it is straight out in front of the open eye. Close the fingers of that hand and point the thumb up. So the up-pointing thumb is right in the middle of your field of vision of the open eye. Now continue at maybe at arm's length. Now continue looking straight ahead. But move the hand slowly outward from the center line of your visual field. If it's your right hand, move it right. If it's your left hand, move it left. Keep your eye looking straight ahead. Do you notice what happens? At about 15 degrees out from the center of your field of vision, your thumb disappears. Then as you continue to move it outward, it reappears. If you missed it, try it a couple of times. You can try it with the other eye and the other hand. What you've just shown yourself, did everybody get it? Did it disappear for you? Slowly, slowly. What you've just shown yourself is the vision in each eye has a blind spot. The blind spot is perfectly normal and has an anatomical explanation. It corresponds to the spot on your retina where the optic nerve comes in. But the remarkable thing about this blind spot is not that we all have it. It's that we don't know we have it. It's as if your brain has stitched up this hole in your field of vision so that it's not noticeable. Here's how my favorite neuroscientist David Eagleman describes it. You don't notice the hole in your field of vision because the brain fills in the missing information from the blind spot. Notice what you see in the location of the thumb when it's in the blind spot. When the thumb disappears, you do not perceive a hole of whiteness or blackness in its place. Instead, your brain invents a patch of the background pattern. Your brain, with no information from that particular spot in visual space, fills in with patterns around it, unquote. Eagleman concludes, quote, you're not perceiving what's out there. You're perceiving whatever your brain tells you. Let me give you that again. You're not perceiving what's out there. You're perceiving whatever your brain tells you. Your brain is like the blue guitar in Wallace Stevenson's poem. Things as they are changed upon the blue guitar. And the same principle applies to the other senses. You're hearing, tasting, feeling, smelling what your brain tells you. Now, this is not a course on neuroanatomy, but a meditation on the nature of truth. Many UU congregations recite a covenant every Sunday, which declares that the quest of truth is our sacrament. When Jesus was on trial for his life before Pontius Pilate in the Gospel of John, Pilate asked him, so, you are a king? And Jesus answered, you say that I am a king. For this I was born, and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice. Pilate's reply to this was the arresting question. What is truth? That question echoes down through the ages. What is truth? Many religions, as well as many political systems, claim to have a lock on truth. They set up statements of orthodoxy and punish anyone who deviates from the official truth. By contrast, we are descended from heretics, and our approach to religion is that truth is always in play. And what is sacred is not the final answer, but the quest of truth itself. Unitarian Universalism is sometimes called the religion which questions all your answers. We instinctively agree with the poet when he says things as they are changed upon the blue guitar. So we know that different people have different ideas of the truth, And we embrace this diversity as we do other diversities. It is the bedrock assumption not only of liberal religion, but of liberal education, that truth will emerge in the clash of ideas. But let's return to our adage. We do not see things as they are, but as we are. Each of us is made different. Each of our brains is wired according to our own individual life experiences. But even within one brain, as Eagleman points out, we can have different factions pulling different ways. We use these brains to see with and to hear with. They are the central repository of all our senses and the sense we make of them. After discussing the blind spot, David Eagleman goes on to show how for each sense, sight, hearing, taste, feeling, and smell, there's a cortex, an area of the brain which stores everything you've seen, felt, smelt, or heard before. And then the incoming data from your senses in the present is matched against this stored record. If your eyes are seeing something that you've never seen before, this visual cortex might not recognize it and might not even pass the sensation on to your conscious mind. Eagleman tells a particular story to illustrate this. The story of a man who lost his eyesight in a disease in early childhood. But several decades later, after he had lived blind most of his life, a new medical breakthrough restored his sight. But when the bandages were removed from his eyes, and he saw his children for the first time, he could not make any sense of the swirl of colors falling on his eyes. It took weeks for his brain to learn to process the signals coming from his eyes, for him to really be able to see with those eyes. Because the act of sight is not just in your eyes. It's in a whole complex of circuits in your brain and depends on what you have seen before. We do not see things as they are, but as we are. What Eagleman describes at the level of sensation also applies to the more abstract levels of beliefs and values. I came across an article by a scholar named Jer Clifton at the University of Pennsylvania, who studies what she calls the impact of primal world beliefs on behavior. Primal world beliefs. Primal world beliefs are about, quote, the nature of reality writ large, unquote, such as, the world is fascinating. Clifton says, primals are the most super, simple, essential, and general beliefs we have. She identifies 28 major primal beliefs, 24 of which collapse into 3 big categories: safe, enticing, and alive. They correlate with all kinds of factors and can predict such things as depression and satisfaction and well-being. But in this political season, Clifton decided to focus on what primal beliefs differentiated likely voters for the 2 political parties. Surprisingly, dangerousness was not a factor. Perceiving the world as full of dangers did not differentiate voters of one party from those of another. The 2 key factors that Clifton found were hierarchy and justice. As Clifton explained, the hierarchical primal concerns the nature of differences. Namely, does difference imply that something is better or worse? For those who believe that reality is hierarchical, if 2 things are different, that tends to imply that one is better than the other. Likewise, for those who see reality as non-hierarchical, differences are likely surface and meaningless distinctions and probably distractions. Under the latter view, the hierarchical view, any attempt to organize the world into the latter view would be the non-hierarchical. Any attempt to organize the world into better or worse things will either fail or be inaccurate and superficial. However, for folks who see the world as hierarchical, most things can be fairly usefully ranked and ordered from better to worse, unquote. So this was one of the 2 significant primal beliefs which separated people politically. Those who were inclined to vote Republican believed in hierarchy in this sense, and those inclined to vote Democrat did not. The other politically significant primal belief was justice, and Clifton describes this as follows, quote, "The second biggest distinction between Republicans and Democrats concerns whether or not the arc of life trends toward justice, whether or not the arc of life trends toward justice. Does life find a way to reward those who do good and punish those who do bad? Is the world a place where working hard and being nice pays off? With plenty of exceptions, Republicans tend to say yes and Democrats say no," unquote. Now this is tricky. You use love to quote Theodore Parker, which she had basically taken the line about arc of justice from Theodore Parker. The line from Parker is, "The arc of the universe is long, but it bends toward justice." President Obama has that quote embroidered on a carpet in the White House. Liberals are concerned with justice. But in terms of a belief that the world as presently constituted is just, we aren't there. We're out bending the arc because it needs bending. A belief that the world as it is just, that anyone can succeed through hard work as the system is now, is more characteristic of the conservative mindset. When I was just starting my legal career in the public defender's office, I got to view the legal establishment from the point of view of the most powerless. And behind my desk was a favorite cartoon from the New Yorker, showing three fish with their mouths open. The littlest fish on the right was about to be eaten by the middle-sized fish in the middle, who in turn was about to be eaten by the big fish on the left. Each of the fishes had thought bubbles. The littlest fish's thought bubble said, "There is no justice in the world." The middle-sized fish's thought bubble said, "There is some justice in the world." The big fish, about to devour the other two, had a thought bubble which said, "The world is just." We do not see things as they are, but as we are. Who we are, or who we want to be, as people who are woke. People who understand that justice is not here yet for everybody. That there are still people left out of we the people. People support different platforms, candidates, and programs because of different assumptions about the world. This is not just applied in electoral politics, but in social politics, such as climate change, anti-racist methods, growth or no growth incentives for Cape Cod. Take your pick. I heard about a scientific study the other day that came on the heels of one from 5 years before out of Australia. The one 5 years before found that gluten was bad for you, whether you had celiac disease or not. That for celiac people off to one side, that's about less than 1% of the population. Those people shouldn't be eating gluten under any circumstances. But this was addressed for people who didn't have celiac. And the first study in 2011 found that, in fact, for these normal people, they were better off without gluten. So this gave rise to a great appetite for non-gluten foods. Something like $15 billion being sold in America today of non-gluten food. 30% of the population sort of trending toward, I'm sure plenty of people in this room try to avoid gluten in their diet. But the scientists that conducted the study back in 2011 got bothered by the integrity of the study. It was a small sample. He hadn't dotted his I's and crossed his T's. He got some money together and did a much larger sample over a much larger period of time. He found the effect completely disappeared. There was no effect of gluten on non-celiac patients. Now that's being published, and another study on its heels just came forward. But we who are concerned about things like our diet have now gotten the idea that gluten is bad. So the question is, will we then be swayed by the new scientific evidence? That's the sort of thing that we have our own ideas and values that sometimes clash with what's in front of our eyes, with what science is telling us. We do not see things as they are, but as we are. Does that mean that things as they are in themselves don't exist? No, far from it. It just means that the only thing we can know about them is how they appear to us, filtered through the categories in our minds. What is the takeaway here? The current political campaign has exposed disturbing diversity of opinion among segments of the body politic. Some of us were under the impression that the election of a biracial man as president signaled a step forward in dealing with race. What this campaign has plainly shown is that there is also a strong backlash, a faction within the electorate which has never accepted a black president. This is disturbing, but I want to make a plea for us not to demonize candidates or each other. I want to ask us to understand how different mindsets can produce different realities as we each look at the same thing. We live in realities made by our brains, and different brains will construct reality differently. In this time of truth decay, it is good to remind ourselves that none of us sees things as they are, but rather as we are. And we are a bundle of contradictory impulses, fears, hopes, and beliefs. Let us, in this highly polarized and hyper-excited political season, cut each other a little slack.